qualification. Last game on Storm Point, can they
on Foot Esports, Fire Beavers, VZN heading out that way as well. It seems like they will at least split up for now, but this is a big decider for them if they're going to start out this with as little resistance as possible, and you definitely want to do that going into a map switch.
Yeah, I'm getting all types of vibes and nostalgia, throwing it back to the ALGS Championships year 1, Evan, as we had a chance to call 100 Thieves winning it, at least in North America, to be back casting with the Miami Vice duo once again. Rain out, fall day, however you want to call it, or bring it together. We're back, baby.
The party. You can maybe call us the party.
The party. I'm cool with that, actually. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it in and out of game. Obviously, Ascend, this is the team that's been so successful. I mean, breaking down their strategy, there's going to be a lot of videos hopefully online of people looking at why Ascend are doing what they're doing. Obviously committing to the Newcastle, Watson, and Valkyrie. And one of the things I love about this composition too, John, is just the commitment to the Newcastle, which recently got a buff in the latest patch, not Season 15, where there were no legend changes. That's an interesting one. A lot of players had opinions on that. But Season 14, where Newcastle not only was already considered a top-tier pro player choice, but then got almost double in terms of his ability to move his shield, in terms of the value that the knockdown shields give when he's using his passive, and in terms of the stun damage and duration of when you throw down that castle wall ultimate. So for me, it was a big miss in the regions of not really capitalizing on Newcastle, and it's fun to see Ascend show what the value is.
Yeah, no, I got to completely agree. It was really one team. We talked about it a lot, but it was 100 Thieves in North America that started popularizing the team comp and saw the potential. I know another player was Albert Lely, who's kind of early tweeted on it. I think Newcastle will be very viable for competitive, but it's good to see a lot of teams kind of following suit and running that Newcastle team comp. It's working really well for Kashera and Ascend right now. They find themselves the gold shield and blue Evo shield for Kashera, so they're pretty well shielded. The early rotate's going to come, and that's what works so well for this comp. Early rotate, get great positioning, and then bunker up and chill. Very similar to way back in the day when we saw Watson, we saw Pathfinder, we saw Wraith. A lot of teams would just early rotate and then use those Watson fences to take a building and post up. Expect the same thing from Ascend right here, but they're gonna have to get through a VZN squad that got hot drop loot in Mill. And one other thing I want to point out, after game 1, Game and Gladiators actually decided to stop contesting VZN and Mill. So kudos to them. You could say one of two things. You could say VZN wins the fight. Congratulations to them. Or you could say kudos to Game for not having, a big ego, not flexing and not trying to flex their muscles and winning that initial fight. They say, okay, let's just give it up. Let's not get in this mess, and let's rotate and play drop north pad for free instead.
I'm a big fan of giving up ego. I feel like that's the true way to a championship there. You got to bring it together, and you got to be honest with yourselves and how you're performing. KCP, nothing to be honest about here. Just look at the number. It's 2 right behind Ascend, doing extremely well. Plum on the G7, excuse me, a 30-30. It's been a minute since we've seen this one. G7 totally dominating this meta. And Three Muppets just trying to hold high ground here, as you can see Nasky hitting that Phoenix kit. One of the difficult situations on Stormpoint is this incredible verticality that ends up coming up, and Three Muppets are going to do well just to hold this angle, even though the Seer ultimate is out. No need to push.
Yeah, an early rotate. KCP decides to avoid this fight completely, and that's a wise decision. You got strongest Plum and Kumbra, pretty good fighting team, the Three Muppets, again, newer team to ALGS with high ground over you, and a wise decision for KCP just to tuck it and run, as they will rotate through, make their way all the way to wall, and be just fine as they're all healed back up. And they're going to actually go and opt for a wide west rotation along the C line. KCP dropping wall, working their way back to where they actually initially dropped, and taking the safe rotation instead.
Nasky, Surdell, Max Strafe, the story about them has just been one of tremendous struggle, but one of also persistence as they've continued to find a way to play together, whether it be struggles of doing it at LAN, but making sure that online they always come back to one another. It's really been one of the only teams that have had separate pathways, that have always found a way to come back, and that is kind of why they have been someone to root for and someone that's been so likable. Of course, if you're ever in a listen-in with Nasky, you're not going to have a hard time hearing what he has to say. So it's hard not to root for somebody who's so vocal and so fun. And that's kind of the dynamic of this team, isn't John? Nasky always keeps the vibes high, always with support, always keeps it light, even in those tough situations.
Yeah, that's a great point. Speaking of those vibes, this is going to be one of the most unique listen-ins because we're listening into a team doing the Armory. But why not? Something tells me the vibes will be high between KCP and the boys. Let's jump into a listen with KCP as they fight some bots here in the Armory.
Activating reserve sentries. Activating reserve sentries. Activating reserve sentries. Override in 30 seconds.
Now, John, if that isn't one of the best listen-ins, then I don't know.
Wow.
Well, we called ourselves the party
moment.
when we started. That certainly felt like everyone had gone home already.
You're right, Randy. That might be the best listen in ALGS history, to be honest with you. I mean, it was so hype, it was so intense, and these guys were so just focused on destroying these bots here. We maybe could have seen that one coming, playing Armory instead.
Yeah, you definitely had the insight to it. Obviously, they're a little focused here, and there's not much to say about this one, but once they get out of this thing, it's definitely going to be decision time, and that's where you have to be really aware. If you're watching the ALGS, maybe for the first time, it may seem like these teams aren't doing much right now. Just a lot of looting and maybe a lot of shooting at stuff that's inanimate. But when they are really in their vocal conversations, is now. This is where the decision points come in terms of how are we rotating? How are we going to play this? Look where the zone is pulled. Do we really want to rush this? Who's in front of us? And how do we tackle this situation? Because this is where you kind of decide your fate. It's two roads that are diverging, and you have to choose the path that you feel is going to lead to success. So it's a little bit of risk. And definitely a lot of chatting, even though it seems like maybe more of a mundane time during the game.
Yeah, they're just so focused as a team that they really are all on the same page. They don't need to talk. They can just communicate telepathically. That's how talented this KCP squad is. But no, jokes aside, the Armory decision there for the squad is going to give them the loot as well. Like you said, they can talk through kind of rotations, and they're not going to be working their way. Actually, there's a fight going down. Gaming Gladiators just took out a team, I believe, over towards Downed Beast. And KCP will be running up against the Gaming Gladiators here in a moment. So we'll see if they decide to fight. They're the only three teams on the very far edge right now. So if that fight does happen between Pioneers and Gaming, that'll be a pretty clean fight with very little risk of third party. We'll see if it does ensue. Maybe we can jump back with KCP in a moment, but start a fight, find themselves in a fight themselves as they'll be rotating their way through, destroying this pylon and then getting a chance to just chill.
If you keep an eye, too, on a team we've been highlighting, Aurora, they are still on that edge, southeastern edge. Only a team, Heroes, right behind them, although they are making their way slowly from Barometer. It's one of those compositions that we know likes to play, and they're running the Catalyst, something very interesting for those who may be just jumping in to the ALGS, wanting to see the newest legend played at the highest level. Well, we have a chance to do it. We'll show you them, because they tend to be in all these final circles. Moving on, though, to Guyman.
Here it is.
In a bit of trouble there.
Yeah, this is the fight we talked
looks like
about.
they've got to make it happen.
It's KCP versus Gaming Gladiators, the two Titan teams from Emea. Historically, the best three teams in Emea have been Gaming, Alliance, and the Kansas City Pioneers, formerly known as Nasky, Strafey, and Dell. Guess what? Two of them will be clashing right now. Clash the Titans indeed between these two squads. A little long-range skirmish. And again, no other teams nearby, but the three Muppets actually rotate back as well. Again, we have our little mini-map here on the side, so we'll keep you updated. Three Muppets enter the fight.
Diamond are in a tough spot here. Pioneers on the backside, three Muppets rotating in front. Pioneers don't necessarily realize this right now, but they're going to have to hold these buildings very, very well. Diamond definitely doing their job. They have the charge rifle, but if they've got to keep it from a distance, that is not going to be good or beat any EVA 8's wingmans up close. So Hardecki knows that in the squad, and they're getting those shield batteries off, kind of holding against the onslaught here. But look at Nasky. He's got Arc Stars ready to go. John wants to pop a battery here before he gets in. The Arc Star, it will hit one. The Mastiff will hit another. They're looking for a down. Oh no, but Nasky goes down as well. He takes the third, and it's Guyman Gladiators, John, who go out to KCP, but there's still a fight happening.
That's right. It's three Muppets. We foreshadowed it perfectly, and guess what? The three Muppets are here, and here comes the push. KCP was down one. If one member of KCP doesn't go down, they get the shield swap. They get the reset that they need, but instead, three Muppets, who was actually harassing KCP earlier, it was, again, speaking of foreshadowing, it was a tale of what's to come. Three Muppets take out KCP, but wait, KCP gets the first knock. That's it.
Wow.
Clove goes down early, and just like that, the three Muppets will take out Strafey and Nasky last alive.
I got to give credit to Three Muppets where credit is due. They hear the fighting with Guyman and Pioneers, and it's not where the circle is. They go backwards. They say, this is an opportunity for us. Sitting 17th in the lobby, Pioneers sitting second, and yet they go and challenge that. However, look at this, Dell making it out alive. There is still a little bit of hope. And obviously in second place, those placement points with still maybe 5 or 6 possible for them. 18 squads left. It's going to be a hard challenge. Could keep KCP in the running, but it is not what they wanted, and Three Muppets showing exactly how to third party in Apex Legends.
Yeah, that's right. They entered that fight with perfect timing. I think you're spot on. They waited for it to completely end. They knew that KCP was going to be damaged, and then they capitalized. They get all the loot as a result. Dell, though, got in the whip, a.k.a. the Trident, was able to skirt his way away. And riding a little dirty there, riding a little dangerous is Dell. He's going to come back and try and pick up his boys, and they're going to be ready for a night on the town. You know, we'll see if he can get the reds or not, though. Dell's going to have to try and come back and get these respawn banners.
I do love the usage of the triple take there in that fight. It's a weapon that people have kind of ignored, actually, but in Season 15, got a buff. Reduced the choke rate from 1.1 to 0.75, so it's going to increase that choke much faster. Plus, rate of fire increased from 1.2 to 1.35. People may be sleeping on what the triple take can do in a fight, especially a close range, long range fight. And you compare that to what Hardeki and Artico are working with the charge rifle. It's clear that the triple take would win in that type of scenario. Little things like that making a difference in terms of how you approach, how confident you are pushing a squad. And it just felt like maybe Guyman had nowhere to go. Following along with Fire Beavers, though, they're in the thick of some actions, and I see some Bangalore smoke for Impulse.
That's right. Throwing smoke and getting loose. Shots by boy Shiv. Popularized the use of Bangalore in competitive Apex, but obviously a couple teams running it now. It looks like Fire Beavers, we called them out. We said, I want to see them perform here, and certainly they have. Couple kills to their name. That aggressive team comp is in their favor, but guess what? Foot Esports, the kind of opposite play style of Fire Beavers. They like to rotate early. They made the switch this week to Crypto. They ran Seer previously, so changing their play style to get intel to rotate early instead. Foot now finds himself on high ground over Fire Beavers.
This is a good spot to be as well, and this is why the ultimate comes out, if you're wondering. They're afraid of that push, and so they're going to throw that that sensor down for Seer in order to make sure that Foot just doesn't move. And Foot don't need to. They're in third place. 23 points, a solid performance from them. Yeah. But also you got to think, running the R301 in the car, only 113 ammo. This is one of the benefits, I think, of what Aurora do. They are still not in this fight, John, and everyone who's been in the middle of the circle, yes, they've fought for position, but look at the resources that they've got. Slowly dwindling in terms of ammo and slowly getting pressured. This may mean Aurora can jump in as they are actually very close to approaching this and make something happen.
Yeah, Taylor, the young IGL on this team, I believe 20 years old, playing with one of the oldest players in Emea. It's Noth, longtime duo. They pick up Kuya. Right now they find themselves damaged, and again, they decided not to gatekeep Fire Beavers as strong. They decided to early rotate, and they get in zone as a result. They have themselves this hill, top of the rocks. This is a really good position in this circle, really good position in these late games, especially with a Watson. Because of line of sight, they have little risk of their pylon being deleted, and no nades, no ability to get pushed because those Watson fences. They'll be in a pretty good spot here, nice and safe on high ground.
Crypto, such an undervalued legend, I think. Always been relevant. It's just a matter of who wants to use it. This is one of those teams that is kind of always committed to it, and they've actually almost been pioneers of that slower but methodical Emea playstyle. I mean, obviously in the Virtus Pro days, were paired with Pierre and had a great chance of kind of being that team that was always consistently in top 5s and top 6s in the mix, but never really could get that win. A lot like our Not As Sincere squad at the time. And, you know, this is something that you've just got to look at in your own game. That's why I've been so impressed with players like TSM, players like Sentinels, even though it's not working out for Sentinels, picking up a coach, kind of having, how do we have these bigger picture conversations about what we really need to do to be effective and get past that hump. I think this is something that we're seeing here as an opportunity for Noth and the game.
Yeah, that's a great point. Big shot to Ink. He's the kind of manager of this team, allows this team to focus up on playing in strats while he could focus on doing everything else. But right now, Fire Beavers, I'm loving how they're playing this. Rather than pushing an impossible push or an impossible fight to the hands of Foot, they actually opted to rotate back to Mill. They found themselves a kill point over Zane of VZN, and they're continuing to just focus on Edge. Again, another Edge fighting team. 3v2 opportunity against VZN if they decide to take it. I love how Fire Beavers are playing this.
You got to watch out, too. Just pay attention. Aurora is sneakily waiting on the outside of this fight. I think they might be waiting for a couple of downs before they make a move, but have really not had to go through any type of resistance this entire lobby. We're almost at 13, and Foot Esports cleaning up what looks like Ember after a pretty decent opportunity for them to kind of move forward. We've highlighted them. I think they've done decently well, John, but we see a Valkyrie skyward dive of Game Ward coming out into the zone. He's going to run back in right next to where Foots and Aurora are. And look at this. We definitely are looking at some crazy movement going on in our southern side of the circle as we now get a full confirm of where this will end inside the mill.
Yeah, that's where Bangalore is helpful. The ability to use that smoke to guarantee the res. Nice shot from 9imps, and looks like Taskmaster will be back up to full. One thing I got to point out maybe is an honorable mention. Dell just lit it up in the kill feed. He found a kill over Game Ward. So I don't know if Dell was able to finally get the banners, but Game Ward eliminated. Dell joined the fight and found himself at least one more kill point. So can he match Max Strafey's Rat of the Century, which we saw last time we saw Group A versus C, I believe. KCP snuck into the top 4 overall because of Strafey's ability to rat. He's going to find himself yet another kill point. Dell is the kill leader. I think he's still a solo. I don't know if he got the reses. We'll try and get you that intel as soon as we possibly can. But overall, KCP and Dell finding their way into the top 10 squads left, courtesy of a nice rat from Dell. Not sure if his team's alive.
Still a Sin sitting pretty nicely as well in this. His Foot hold the high ground of what will be an eventual, you would think, clash with Aurora, who I believe are underneath. And you can see a Sin still near the mill. Fire Beavers as well. 3 Muppets after taking down KCP on the backside of it, with Phoenix Legacy, a team that we would have wanted to see. Still showing presence there near Sin. So looking to be a very interesting top 10. A lot of these points, there you see Aurora wanting to be taken by these teams to really push forward in terms of their wins. We still have a potential 3 games in a row with a Sin in this lobby. Will they make it happen? That certainly would be a great start to day 5.
Indeed. 3-game back-to-back-to-back, much like they did last time in this Group A versus C matchup. But right now we got Foot versus Aurora. Side by side, Aurora, it's clearly at a disadvantage here, but Bangalore Elt certainly helps them. Gonna drop that to start. And of course, the Watson pylon will make it so a lot of those Bangalore pieces won't not actually hit, but I think the Watson pylon was destroyed. So Foot's gonna take some damage here. They're gonna be forced to drop to low ground Kuya, and courtesy of a rotate, obviously the ring is closing in as well, and Aurora is still finding themselves, despite being at a slight disadvantage, doing well in this fight. Here comes the Wrecking Ball from Mad Maggie, which certainly helps, gives them the movement speed bump. But Maliwan gets sniped from Taylor, a hell of a shot from Taylor with the Kraber.
Even though Maliwan, look at this, takes down Kuya as that happens. Taylor on the high ground has to make a play for Foot Esports if they're going to get out of this one, because Aurora, Maliwan might just get revived. No, Taylor hitting 140 as well, almost assuring that this zone is going to push in and destroy it. But can he get to Noth, who is here with the interception pylon? That'll buy him a little bit of time, but is it enough?
Taylor is the playmaker right now with the Kraber in hands, and if they can survive this, this will certainly become a WD Black What's in Your Pack segment. I mean, Taylor uses the Kraber right now, knocked 2 members of Aurora, who was their biggest threat, got them back to full. The pylon is now down as the duo still survives. They didn't get the banner of Kuya, but as a team of 2, they make it into the top 8, and Aurora is out again to the hands of Taylor with Kraber in hand.
One more shot in the Kraber. Taylor's got to make it count, because that flatline didn't look like it had too much ammo. It might, but I just saw the quick switch. It just didn't look like it. And obviously, running out of resources, you do not want to have just one gun in this final circle, but they're alive, and that is all that matters, holding that number 3 spot with 8 squads left. Aurora still looks like they might have 2. No, they've been taken out by Phoenix Legacy. So with our 8 squads, Phoenix Legacy have hidden a little bit, yet they are still here and alive, as well as a Sin. So some of our top teams, John, still pushing hard to try to get that glory of the win. Nightmare Esports, though, trying to hold everyone back from this door as Limek stares them down with the barrel of the Volt.
That's right, another crypto team. Flavor of the month now picked up by Foot Esports. Find themselves down to a team of 2. Heroes, again, must perform team. In last place in the Pro League standings, 30th place right now, needs to perform today. They find themselves in the top 8 here. Nightmare looking to go back-to-back with another 2nd place finish. 17 points, 6th place overall for them. Like what I'm seeing from this squad is a couple teams now surround the mill with a mill finish. This is one of my favorite late game circles on Storm Point.
I love the high ground, low ground. You see the castle wall get set up there from Heroes, and they decide to break down the door and just make sure that they have their own sense of cover, and that will be a little bit of a static charge. Either way you slice it, whether it's a Watson pylon or jumping over that new castle wall, so no one is going to want to push that way. Nightmare, though, I think are in a good spot. They're in the inside. No one wants to push this. And in fact, just because of the impediment of Heroes on the outside, it makes their spot even more defensible. So Ascend on the high ground are really going to have to do a lot of work here if they're going to win this game. But maybe the circle will allow them to move out as as fast as they need to and beat maybe Nightmare, who's nestled inside.
Yeah, and I would almost say the opposite. Not a whole lot of work that they have to do. They can just sit high ground while all these teams fight on low ground. They are chilling right now. Ascend with great positioning, and they're going to completely bully Uchako off the high ground. So they are just going to be sitting on top of high ground as every other team fights on low. And Ascend will just have a chance to pick up kill point after kill point, much like they're doing right now. First to their former teammate in VJ. He gets taken out. VZN eliminated. Phoenix Legacy alive as well. They need a big game.
They're going to have to move. You're right. High ground maybe has the advantage here, but are they going to have to drop first? That's the only thing. Might be able to play that ridge right in front of them as the circle starts to close soon as we are in round 6 at 37. A big shot, a peek. It's not enough from Lufka, but he certainly puts him out of the fight for a moment. Shield battery will be necessary, and you talk about the benefits of the interception pylon. It's not just the defenses, it's the shielding as well. Only one shield battery from Lufka, but he's not going to have to use it as long as they can stay up there and out of line of sight.
Especially if he doesn't take a lot of damage, which there's no reason he should take damage right now because they have high ground. So here's the situation. Ascend, if you see where the zone is pulling, it's still basically in the area of the high ground. So they don't have to drop to low ground. They just have to chill on high ground right now, maintain this positioning, and they will win 3 straight games. That's another knock on ASCII here of Heroes. Ascend is just picking up kill after kill. Only 2 to their name right now, but by the time this game ends, expect that to be 6 or 7.
I love Heroes positioning. They try to get out of it. They know they're not in a great spot. They're outside the wall. They're not inside, and Ascend can still see them. They make the rotate to the rock. In fact, Ascend do damage, but they are still there. So Heroes, the only team that kind of has a vantage point onto the rest of the squads, but that can go both ways because that means the rest of the squads have line of sight onto Heroes if they don't play these head peaks perfectly. And so far, Wraith doing a good job of it. Hasn't even shielded up there because they're looking for KP, John. They feel that this is a chance to get it, and they get one right there on tap there.
That's right. Easy KP for them. The only team that can shut down Ascend here is Heroes, indeed. They are the only team that has a clear line of sight, can put damage onto Ascend on high ground, and can keep them at bay because obviously not a whole lot of cover to deal with. But the Kashera ult comes down, and just like that, I take that back. Nothing but cover, courtesy of Newcastle once again here on high ground. Ascend finally decides to drop on this team. They have the advantage. They make the call. They push, but they're not getting the damage that they need to do. They're going to get taken out. They lose a clean 3v3 to Nightmare where they should have had the advantage. And Heroes is going to come through and clean up. We said they needed to perform to be heroic. Well, heroic they are. Heroes ends up on top in game number 3.
What a moment from Heroes. They're the ones willing to go out into the unknown and take a risk. And the risk pays off with a win in game 3, shutting down Ascend once and for all. What a moment there, John. I think the way to